So what are occupational standards? Occupational standards describe what a person in a particular occupation is able to do, what they know, and what they're capable of doing. Capable means having the skills, knowledge, and abilities to perform the job effectively. And the occupational standards that we're describing today, the ones developed for early childhood educators, were developed by ECEs across the country for use by you and by your peers. So why do we develop occupational standards? They're a very valuable tool, and they are based on competencies that describe exactly what an early childhood educator must be able to do in their job. Occupational standards can be used in any number of ways by a variety of audiences in the early childhood and care sector, including government decision makers, early childhood education and curriculum developers, directors of early childhood education centers, as well as frontline early childhood educators. A how-to guide was developed to promote the occupational standards for early childhood educators. They're meant for discussions and to stimulate those discussions between frontline ECEs and directors of early childhood education centers. These are only examples that we're going to present today. They're not best practices on how to develop the tools from occupational standards, but they are 5 very specific ways on how you can use the occupational standards in your setting. We encourage you to read through the how-to guide and the occupational standards and develop your own uses for the occupational standards. The 5th use of occupational standards for early childhood educators involves the informing of certification and registration programs in the country. Through the Agreement on Internal Trade, there are 8 provinces that recognize each other's certification and registrations, and this fosters career mobility and a common ground from which to develop requirements for the sector. In terms of certification and registration for early childhood educators, what's currently being used in certification plans across the country predates the development of the standards for early childhood practitioners in 2003, and it also predates the work that has been done to develop and base these new standards that were completed in 2010 for early childhood educators. A key component of a number of those credentialing processes today is the completion of an early childhood education certificate or diploma, and for example, some of the provinces and territories in Canada have provided early childhood education program standards that describe topic areas and skills that must be taught and learned within the post-secondary arena for professional early childhood education. And because there's no national certification system or body within the sector, college curriculum that's used for teaching early childhood education is usually the benchmark for which the credentialing processes that currently exist are based. So there are a number of different ways that a national certification program can be developed. The occupational standards for early childhood educators provide a really good basis for a national certification program because they identify exactly what's happening right now within the sector. And they also identify the skills, knowledge, and abilities that are required of early childhood educators today. Some of the considerations for a national certification program include a certifying body who will actually be responsible for implementing and managing the registration and certification process. Another consideration is the certification process. What will the requirements for certification be? And another consideration is the certification and credential management aspect. Which certifying body will be responsible for handling credentialing and certification? Certification bodies should outline exactly what it takes to be a certified worker within their sector. That includes who is eligible to apply for the certification. It outlines the process for a certification renewal, and it also updates and describes the cost associated with being a registered or certified worker.